Hey y'all, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate taking time out of y'all's busy schedule to stop in and see what it is I'm up to. At the moment, we are sitting at the Kingsley Plantation, a historic national preserve. The Kingsley Plantation thrived in the 1700s, and I didn't think to do an intro on the way in here, so before I leave I figured I'd do an intro, and this looked like a good scene, so hope y'all agree. I'll be putting things together and adding on to the end, after I leave here. So enough babble, let's get on with the show. Here we go. Alright people, I'm handheld at the moment. The road was just bouncing things around way too much. didn't hurt that, or didn't help that I had zoomed the camera out and didn't realize it when I turned it back on again. But we are heading back to the Kingsley Plantation, which is a national historic preserve. The Kingsley Plantation is from, I'm not even going to come up with the dates. A long time ago, there was a plantation owner who built his home out here, and he had slaves, and they raised cotton and cattle, and made rum from sugarcane, I believe. It's been a long time since I've been out here. I forgot just how far back this road goes. Imagine doing this on a horse and buggy. It's 110 degrees. Bugs are everywhere. Tree work. Wilds of Florida, and off in the distance there you can see the steam towers from the cooling towers from the electrical plant, which is just recently closed. Let's go over on this side. Imagine 200 years ago, and this wouldn't have looked a whole lot different. National Park Service. Tamaqua Ecological and Historic Preserve, Kingsley Plantation. I forgot how long that road was. It just kept going and going. I'll show more of this in a couple minutes. Let me get parked. Slave cabins. The lost art of tabby. Constructed nearly 200 years ago, these cabins were home to enslaved people. Following emancipation, former slaves lived here and worked the land. Slowly, individuals and families moved away, leaving the buildings to fall into ruin. Tabby was a labor-intensive concrete made from oyster shells, sand, and water. Tabby was poured into forms, layer by layer, until it became the buildings in front of you. The cabin ruins are a connection to the hundreds of enslaved men, women, and children who lived here. The National Park Service is preserving these unique symbols of American history. Help us by not touching the tabby as you walk through. Touch this piece of modern tabby and not the fragile historic tabby. Like I said, I've heard it called coquina, tabby. As you can see, these ruins stretch down quite a distance in that direction. This one looks like it's been semi-restored. At least it has a limestone coating on the outside of it, so it shows kind of what it may have been like way back when. The massive fireplace. Basically 2 rooms. And then it continues on down and around. I think some of these have been topped off with more modern concrete to help preserve them. I could be mistaken. I can't imagine what life was like back then. Here's something some of y'all may not know about. Fire ants. The bane of the South. These things will put a hurting on you. Look at them, they're all coming out. Every bite will raise a welt, and it will itch and burn. It sometimes takes days or weeks to go away. Nasty, nasty creatures. Slave cabins, voices from the past. The slave quarters were a place to find identity and strength through family, faith, and shared experiences. Many American traditions originate from the daily activities and beliefs of enslaved people. Practices that survive today revolve around cooking, singing, dancing, worshiping, and healing. While daily work was individually focused, life in the slave quarters revolved around family and community. Stories of slave home life lay in the few words left behind in narratives and interviews of former slaves. We used to slip off into woods in the old slave days on Sunday evening, way down in the swamps to sing and pray to our own liking. We prayed for this day of freedom. Alice Sewall, 1900s. Many slaves resisted their bondage by purposely slowing down their work pace, faking illness, or even mutilating themselves in order to lessen their value as human property. Some African cultural traditions included using song and code to relay hidden messages. This tradition was sometimes used by slaves in their efforts to secretly pass on information to planning escapes. A slave cabin, strength to survive. In front of you are the remains of 25 cabins, the homes of 60 to 80 men, women, and children. These people had the strength to survive the misery of slavery. Before dawn, slaves left for their day's labor or to use their specialized skills. They returned physically exhausted and hungry, drained by the unrelenting drudgery. At the end of the day, their strength came from family, faith, and tradition. From the earliest ages, children were trained to do their parents' work. They were terrified of the punishment their parents endured. Parents taught their enslaved children strict obedience so they could survive. And yet, like children today, they still found time to play. To a cabin in woodland drear, you've come a mommy's heart to cheer. In this old slave cabin, your heartstrings grabbing. Just lay your head upon my breast and snuggle close and rest, my little colored child. Your daddy plows the old masses corn. Your mama does the cooking. She'll give dinner to a hungry child when nobody is a-looking. Don't be ashamed, my child, I beg, 'cause you was hatched from a buzzard egg, my little colored child. Anonymous. While not indigenous to Florida, peacocks are all over the place. Plantation house symbolizes the owners and their freedom. The cabin ruins stand behind you as a testament to the enslaved and their lives of forced labor. We're here now. Down here was the cabins. Up here is that there. I guess a representation of the garden. Tiny rooms. If we look that way, which would be south, around that point of land, a little further down would be the Fort George Inlet, which that's either in this video or another video that I'll be posting shortly. Kingsley Plantation house. There goes the ranger all dressed for winter. It's about 67 degrees here.